So it's time for me to pick my England team against Ireland. Is it too late to make changes? Would it be silly to disrupt this settled team, even though they did lose against Scotland and their performances haven't looked great? But is there a consistency that needs to be stuck with? If changing personnel makes it worse in the short term, is that good for the long term? Or can you change personnel and make a change for the better now and in the long term? It's a big call. We've got a few players coming back into the squad. Alex Mitchell's back in, Marcus Smith is back in, so I think it's a stronger roster to pick from. Yeah, and to be realistic, I'm only going to pick from the actual England squad that was announced. So let's get into it. In the forwards, I'm going for the old school front row. Marler and Cole to start. I just think up against Furlong, up against Porter, they need the big scrummages first. We're going to lose out in speed, in handling, in agility, but I think we've just got to stay solid. We don't want to get blown away too early. It could happen against Ireland, but you want to stay in the fight for as long as possible. I would like to see Theo Dan get a start at some point, but I don't think this game's the right one. George has been very consistent, if not right at the top of his game. Outstanding in the set piece, great thrower of course, and a really good leader I believe. So I think he still starts as the captain. He's going to start anyway. So a very experienced front row of Marler, George and Cole. So in the second row, Maro Itoje has been consistently England's best lock in the World Cup and now a real disruptor, so he definitely starts. Who goes alongside him? It has been Ollie Chesham, who's done some good things, but also hasn't been outstanding, made a lot of mistakes. I don't think he has to play. I think George Martin, it's worth giving him a go. There's a reason he started in that South Africa semi-final in the World Cup. Itoje and Martin are our most physical second row pairing at the moment. Maybe Rusi Tuima comes into that at some point in the future, but for now, let's go for that front five. Very experienced, very hard, very physical, maybe not the quickest compared to Ireland, but goodness me, it could hold its own, I hope. Back row, a lot more speed to make up maybe for that front five. And Chandler Cunningham South, give this guy a start. I know he's got plenty to learn, he may make mistakes, but sometimes you've just got to trust the talent and let it flourish. I don't think there's too many changes in this team, so I think it's worth a go. His size, his athleticism is going to cause problems whatever happens. At open side, well, Sam Underhill, he's put in a big shift in all his games. He can't do much better, to be honest. Tom Pearson's not in the squad. Maybe in the future, Pearson, Pepper, and eventually the under-20s, Henry Pollock, will potentially exceed his performances that are at the moment. But at the moment, I think it is Sam Underhill as the best choice, unless you maybe moved Ben Earl, but I think that's a bit silly. And Ben Earl carries on in the 8 shirt, and since he's been given his big break in the World Cup, he has not looked back and probably been consistently England's best forward, and that's carried on, so fair play to him. Chandler Cunningham South, Underhill, Ben Earl, definitely a very quick, explosive back row. I'll be excited to see that one. So that's the pack. Before we get into the backs, let's mention the sponsor, Lifting Giants. They've decided a lifting block to fit in your hand, which makes a lot of sense. They took the bold move to send it to a university to get tested, and they came back and said, yes, it is better than a flat lifting bar. So if you want to get hold of them, Lifting Giants have given us 20% off in the last 2 games. So RugbyAnalyst 20 through their website. There's a link in the description below if you want to get hold of a pair of those lifting blocks. So, halfback, Alex Mitchell, does he come straight back in? Yes, I think he does. Danny Kerr against Scotland, I don't think did anything to say he should start again. Ben Spencer, I'd like to see starting at some point, but Mitchell has been the man in the World Cup. He's been pretty consistent, getting more and more experience. He comes back in if he's fully fit. And then the same question for Marcus Smith. Does he come straight back into the team? George Ford has done a lot of good things, but yeah, I think he does. If he is match fit, I think he should start. No, for now and going forward, I think this needs to be his team. Give him the keys, let him make mistakes, get as many reps as possible. He's got the ceiling, he's got the running game, he's got the step. George Ford getting a bit older, but didn't have that game anyway, that running game. So give it to Smith, let's see what he can do, and I think you might as well give it to the 2 Smiths. Ford is a great player, would be a good option, but I think going forward and for now, the 2 Smiths have a higher ceiling than Ford, so I'd like to see it. Marcus Smith in at 10. In the centres, do you give Ollie Lawrence another go? Goodness me, he had the dropsies a lot against Scotland, but I think you give him another shout. Let's assume that was him just looking at the man, not the ball, and he's learnt his lesson. So he goes at 12. It would have been nice to see a Max Ajomo there, but he's not in the squad as a passing 12. He'd be great. Dingwall would be solid, but I just don't think he's the future, so I don't think it's worth giving him reps, which is harsh to say, but I think that's the way. And at 13, Slade hasn't been great for me. Made a lot of mistakes. He does have some good skills in him, but again, I don't think he's the future. So let's go for it. Let's go Lawrence and Freeman. Move Freeman in from the wing. I know that's a big call, but we need to see Freeman at 13 at some point, and there's no time like the present. So plenty of power. Freeman's got a good kicking game. He's got some good hands as well. So let's see how they go. Lawrence and Freeman in the centres outside Marcus Smith. And a big argument for Marcus Smith maybe not looking his best for England so far is he hasn't had the weapons outside him. So let's give him the weapons. We could have gone to Tuolangi as well, but I want to have one eye on the future. So on the wings, let's go for it. Let's put more firepower out there. Let's start the horse, Will Muir. He's big, he's strong, he's nasty. I think he's got really good skills. Good tackler as well. Looked good in the A game. Faye Wabusu on the other wing. Give him a start. Let's see what this guy can do. I think he's got super potential. I'm not going to say this backline's not going to make mistakes, but you see power, potential, pace and tries there. Furbank, not the best outing against Scotland. You could go for him again, but I think it's worth bringing in Stewart again. If you've got a lot of changes in that back line, let's go with the guy who's played a lot there. So Stewart at 15. Furbank can drop to the bench because he covers a lot of positions there. So looking at the bench, the front row, we've mentioned Genge, we've mentioned Dan. I think you give Joe Hayes a go. See if he can up that level from what Will Stewart can give, because I think Stewart's been okay. He's given everything he can, but I don't think he's quite up to the highest level. So let's see if Joe Hayes really has improved. He looked decent in that England A game. Many of you said I should have rated him higher, and maybe that's fair enough. So let's give it a go. I don't think there's anything to lose playing Hayes over Stewart. Second row, and Ollie Chesham could slot straight in. He's played a lot of games, so that's not going to be a problem. On the bench, I think it's Spencer over Kerr. Finn Smith I've mentioned, and then Furbank as the outside back. So let me know what you think of that England team. Which team would you pick and why? Love to know your thoughts, and I'll catch you next time.